They said Moscow wanted us to look for a 2011 to a 2013. His car wasn't between those years, so we never submitted the lead over to Moscow PD. This tip for Bryan Kohberger's car was never submitted the way that the PCA says it was. Oh, did you think I was kidding? You must be new here. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer, everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, we're gonna sit here and I'm going to let my hair process and watch episode 3. We have finally gotten to the point where Bryan Kohberger has been arrested in Pennsylvania. They haven't said his name yet. We are literally starting at the press conference, it looks like. Now, I'm going to do this a different way. I'm trying to do this in a way where you guys can sort of see a little bit of what I'm looking at, but I can't show you anything. Like, straight up, plain and simple. I cannot show you anything. So I'm going to have it on the screen somewhere. I haven't decided how just yet. It'll be small. It'll be silenced. There'll be like a box over it, but I'm hoping to have it to where you can at least see like maybe the outline of movement that's happening so that you guys can sort of like keep track a little bit better on where in the episode I actually am. I'm going to see if I can get away with it that way. If I can't and something happens, if they strike it for some reason, then I'm going to have to re-upload it with just me doing this the way that I have been, because they haven't told me anything so far about the way that I've done anything. And honestly, using the thumbnail from the Amazon series itself is really like iffy. I had a copyright strike on my second channel that I used to have before that one got completely deleted, called Logical Oddity, when the Netflix series came out about all of the Nickelodeon stuff with Drake Bell coming out and like telling his story and stuff like that. I used the actual like Netflix thumbnail as the background and put a filter over it and like just positioned it differently, put stuff in front of it, and they struck me for that on the thumbnail. So far, I haven't had issues with that. We'll see if I can continue doing things. That's enough of the PSA stuff. Let's go ahead and get to the episode. A gag order is currently in place restricting certain individuals closely involved in the case from speaking. Yeah, I'm telling you, they only put that there because they had to. The Dateline thing. I really wonder if it was there before the Dateline fiasco. Okay, so this is one of the reporters. I can tell by the voice. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is the press conference. Our pupils are real big too. Kind of strange. Okay, this is the press conference where they're about to announce the suspects. We tried our best to speculate, but we didn't come close. Did you? I kind of don't even believe that. I think y'all kind of knew pretty much what was going on. All of the rumors in the very beginning are closer to the truth than what they want us to believe it is. I didn't even think about the possibility that it could have been a random person. Yeah, his arrest didn't actually end anything. We, again, just started with more questions. That's whenever a lot of people really started being like, hold on. Because the math wasn't mathin'. It just wasn't math. It still doesn't math. And they haven't proved anything. And again, Santa stood up and said, we can't validate that he was at 1122 King Road during any of those pings or any of the things they're trying to say he did to surveil or stalk, which, again, they said he didn't stalk anybody. Nothing is making any sense. Nothing. Okay, so here's the Chapins talking about how they were really glad. Now they're in Coeur d'Alene talking to Maddie's mom. We have a marker like that on the bathroom frame. Karen just said, it's somebody so far away and random. That makes even less sense. I mean, yeah, it makes no sense. Okay, so now here's Bryan being transferred to Idaho. So the reporter said she went down to the corner club and there was a lot of celebration going on because they were happy. A lot of people really believe that things make sense. Okay, so apparently there's a lot of people that didn't have issues saying that they knew people that were involved. One guy was like, my buddy was one of the first responder paramedics. This other one said, my buddy drove him here from the airport to the jail. I want to hear from those people, like those validated stories of my buddy was the one who did this. Here's the proof, and this is what he told me. I want to hear all of those stories. Okay, so now they're over here to WSU. The Idaho's college called Washington and was like, watch out because it's coming. Yeah, as soon as it started going, they mentioned WSU, but the majority of everything still falls on the University of Idaho, which is wild to me, again, because this was an off-campus home. These girls all had leases with somebody else after the situation They say that the house was donated to the college, and then that's whenever the college decided to destroy it, which, again, their reasoning is kind of just crap because they built a memorial on campus after, or, also destroying something that was off campus, saying that it was like really messing with people. But a memorial is sort of like the same vibe. Like, I get it's not like where their lives were taken, but it's the same all around vibe. And there's a whole, drama with that memorial too. That's kind of a cool map. The big question in this has always been why and how did he know the victims? Yeah, and here we are today, July the 12th, 2025, and there is no connection between him and the victims. That's been proven by the state themselves admitting their own evidence. There's no answer to this. There's no motive. There's no detailed confession of how this actually happened. Just a generic template that has a bunch of errors on it and crossed out in pencil pretty much. And yeah, just nothing. Just absolutely nothing. Maddie's stepdad said he was like 8 feet away from Kohberger at some point and he felt the urge to just lunge and he had to really stop himself. I understand that. I get it. I thought I would feel like, yes, we're here, we're watching you, like, how dare you? And it wasn't that way at all. He didn't look at us. I'm sure he was instructed to do so. And I thought, if he doesn't feel bad, why am I wasting so much time even pretending like he's a human being? I'm hurting myself. He's not going to make me a victim. I understand that mindset. And then Stacy Chapin. Why would I sit in a courtroom with that person? We won't attend any of the hearings. What's the purpose? Definitely not the trial. No, I don't have a need to go. See, it is what it is. We cannot change the outcome on this thing. But are you paying attention to the evidence, or do you have a reason to not be paying attention? Because I don't know. I don't know if they're paying attention, like, at all. If it's so innocent to where they just literally don't want to be there because of whatever they're trying to make you believe that it is, are you at least paying attention to the evidence? Are you not questioning things? Are you not asking, what's the truth about my child? Just because you brought Hunter and his little girlfriend over to your house to hang out in your cabin for a little while doesn't mean that you know the truth about what actually happened. Or do you know the truth about what actually happened, and that's the reason why you've played this role the entire time? Because it could go either way. You have to remember, they sent Maisie and Hunter back to that college, the college that took the majority responsibility and did all of the freaking things that are so freaking questionable. They sent them back because the tuition was free. You really think that they couldn't have finished their college degrees somewhere else? Their excuse was they had to finish what they started. They could have done that literally anywhere. You got your money back. You could have used that money to let them go to college literally anywhere. Them completing their education is completing what they started. The college itself has nothing to do with that. So whenever the dad said, oh, they had to go back. They had to finish what they started. They could have done that anywhere. They could have done that at any college across the nation. Shit, they could have gone overseas and done it somewhere else. It's still a completed journey. It's still them doing what they needed to do. There's a reason. There is a signal being sent whenever the kids go back to the university. This is ridiculous. This is just absolutely ridiculous to me. Okay, so now they're introducing the gag order coming into play. Now, there is a hearing coming up because all the same people that have been trying to get the gag order removed the whole time, the same people that have been fighting the camera situation, have filed the documents we all expected them to file about trying to get rid of the gag order. And again, there's a hearing. I don't remember the exact date, but I'll put the document right here as I'm talking about it. The judge already said none of this was going to happen until after the sentencing on the 23rd of July anyway. So I don't know what's the point of the hearing. He's not going to magically open it up 2 days before, the sentencing. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Now here comes the guy that he went to DeSales with, that he did the group project with. I do have a clip of the interview that he just did on Banfield that we're going to go over, after I'm done with whatever I'm doing with these 4 episodes. But he didn't take any criminal classes with him. He was only in biology with him. And they worked together like once. That's pretty much it. He's like, yeah, I see this guy standing alone in the back with this leather jacket on, just being quiet. And I'm like, yeah, hey, come work with me. He said he's really smart. He's really detail oriented and he's a pleasure to work with. He was constantly asking if he needed help with anything. They were constantly fact checking each other. Now here comes a female saying that she took a few classes with him, more than one class with him. They were in a lot of the psychology criminal courses and psychology course. She said she tried to cheat off his test once because she knew how well he always did. Okay, well, thanks for admitting that, I guess. So then the guy is saying he really did seem to be a lonely guy. I invited him to a party one time and he said no. I mean, I never liked that kind of stuff either. I don't like crowds. I don't like being around a bunch of strangers. He says he's an oddball. He's smart, but he's like a robot. Well, they're literally saying that he has, autism. His social inability to perform in a normal human manner. I can absolutely see someone like him being involved in something like this, but all of those traits can also be attributed to the fact that he's autistic. People seem to forget that. And the fact that he apparently spent time with him, he doesn't know this. People that are in the criminology field should know the differences whenever it comes to medical diagnosis versus mental illness, and learn how to, balance what portions are what, because it does matter. Okay, so now they're talking about Ramsland and the classes that she taught there. So this guy that's doing the interview, did the same classes that Bryan did. So why isn't it, why is it okay for him to have taken all these exact same classes, but because Bryan Kohberger took those classes, it's a problem? So now they're talking about this crime scene house that was done. Catherine Ramsland, this is actually really freaking cool. This is the kind of stuff I wish that I would have been able to do in my college courses. Everything that I did was online. So for this kind of thing, you can't really take those kinds of courses online. For psychology, for, social media marketing, for a lot of things, you can do them online. You can learn them 100% online. But for me to have taken courses for forensic investigative science, I wasn't sent any sort of kits. I didn't have any sort of crime scene house that I could have walked through and done stuff with. I would have loved that kind of training. Oh my God. Yes, that's exactly what I would have wanted. So they're talking about how everybody has different sides to them, but that's normal. Because I work in a situation to where when I have to make phone calls to a patient, I have to speak a certain way. But whenever I call an insurance company, I'm speaking a different way. But then whenever I'm calling my doctor's office, I have, I'm normal. I don't have to put a voice on. I'm just me. But in those professional situations, yeah. As a TA, I'm sure that he was probably expected to behave a certain way. Okay, so now they're showing a research survey, the one that we've already gone over, which again had multiple people's names on it. I know that there were some postings that just had Bryan Kohberger's email on it, but this was literally on the DeSales University portal. The literal website for DeSales is where this stuff was. It's school related, so I don't really quite understand the issue. Now, the chick that says that she would have tried to cheat off his paper is saying it was out of the realm for the kind of questions they normally would have. Yeah, you're the cheater who couldn't obviously do your tests without trying to cheat off the smart kid. Everyone that's actually graduated and actually teaches these classes says that all those things are extremely normal. I think I'll take what they have to say about it over the person who, has to cheat to pass. I'm just saying. So now they're going back to Pleasant Valley High. They're talking about his childhood and the Poconos. Now, I will say there was that one post that was really wild that said that the person responsible was going to be found in, what was it? Shithole, Pennsylvania or something like that, somewhere around there. So it's just interesting where this ended up going, honestly. I don't know. But now they're talking about, there wasn't really anything in his past on his record that was a problem. And that's what makes this so interesting, is that he wasn't a career criminal. It could have been his very first thing he ever did. And this is how insane everything went. I see where people might be thinking that too. But the problem is that the physical evidence doesn't put us there. The physical evidence has to put us there. And again, even at the hearing, when they're talking about all these phone pings that they're trying to say are proof for one thing or another, they are also claiming we can't put him at 1122 King Road during any of those occasions because there's so many people that live in the coverage area for those towers, but it looks good, basically. It has no depth. It has no substance. Okay, so now we're back in Moscow, and they're saying that it wasn't clear until how they got to Bryan until the PCA was released. No, that makes it even worse. Everything that they put weight on in the PCA has been destroyed by their own admissions. Let's be so for real. This coming out in January is whenever all of the big questions started. So they're showing a bunch of shorts. They showed Annie Elise. I think they showed that London girl that I did a video about for whenever she released some of the short clips of Hunter Johnson and Emily and everybody sitting around the dumpster in front of King Road. I'll have a link for that one down in the description box if you guys missed that one. We got to see all the homework that the investigators put together. No, you saw what the FBI told them to put on there because Moscow PD didn't do anything. They were literally looking 25 miles in the opposite direction and had an entirely different lead suspect before they got that call. Not even kidding. For all of those people who like think I'm just making things up, it's in the court documents. They had a whole nother lead suspect. Oh, and multiple, unknown male DNA also, for those of you that might have been, missing a few things. They're going with the 4 to 4:25 a.m. timeline. They're saying that 4:20 is whenever the Hyundai Elantra is leaving at a high rate of speed. Never mind the fact that Murphy was outside barking for another 30 minutes before being let back inside around like 4:50 in the morning. We're just going to skip over that. Okay, that's fine. Now, see, the problem that I have, again, is that they're showing the maps that are showing that he apparently drove in like this huge, U-shaped thing or whatever. They don't actually have any proof of that. All they have is his cell phone basically trying to like get service. And while it's trying to get service, it's going to jump through different towers and try to connect to different things, anything that it possibly can. There's no camera footage that puts him in those areas. You can't tell me that with the houses and the businesses that might be along those roads, and yes, they might be pretty far between, but they exist. You can't tell me that there's no camera footage at all of a car like that going anywhere through that. They're literally giving us information that they are manipulating to their own benefit based off of something that they cannot physically prove. They can't sit here and tell us that they don't have the exact records that they need when it comes to the timing advance records, but then say that they have proof of all these other things. You either have it or you don't. You can't claim that you don't have it and that it doesn't exist while then telling us all these other things are true that you could only actually have knowledge of if you had the thing that you said doesn't exist. People think people are stupid. It's insane to me. So he thinks that Bryan would have had like a hairnet, a hoodie up, that he would have had all these different things on and used everything in his knowledge to have tried to make sure that nothing was found anywhere. I mean, I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it at all. The timeline just doesn't add up. The timing doesn't add up to literally anything. Now they're talking about how on the 18th, the licensing got changed. That doesn't matter. Registering to a different state doesn't do anything because it's all a trail. It's nothing that you can cover up. It's not like it just instantly deletes everything. It's going to have the paper trail of this is what it was. This is what it was changed to. That's not covering anything up. Anybody with a brain knows that. So the fact that they keep trying to act as if this is a thing that should matter, no, it's completely trackable. It's pointless to do so to cover anything up. That's dumb. Okay, now we are jumping to Washington State University, and it's November 28th. And I think this is the chief that's talking. So they're showing the bolo for the 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Yeah, this is Gary Jenkins. He was the chief at the time. It says to only obtain the plate. Don't do anything else. That's interesting. Don't contact the driver and do it like a certain way. Don't send this to anyone else. Don't have anybody else look for this. Keep this to law enforcement only. So now this is when it's talking about the 1129 situation. This is the one where the police officer was actually driving around and saw a white Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. Then they're saying that it was searched in the database. Okay, let me pause for a second. This is the opposite order in which the PCA puts the information. The PCA itself says that there was a search done just after midnight, and then just 30 minutes later, a whole nother officer is in the parking lot and sees the car. This guy just put it in opposite order. So that's interesting too. So it shows that they pulled it up then. Okay, so they knew back on 11/29, whenever they put the plate information in, that they had pulled Bryan Kohberger over before on October the 14th, because as soon as they put the information in, it shows the video. That's interesting. They said Moscow wanted us to look for a 2011 to a 2013. His car wasn't between those years, so we never submitted the lead over to Moscow PD. Now, see, we already knew that it really didn't matter, because Ann Taylor said in court that she has correspondence to show that this information was not even looked at until after December the 19th. So if we would have gone to trial, she would have submitted correspondence to show that this tip for Bryan Kohberger's car was never submitted the way that the PCA says it was. This just proved right here that the PCA is a lie, which, we already knew. Okay, so now they're showing the University of Idaho murder case discussion group on Facebook. And here comes Papa Roger. I knew this was coming. I've been waiting to see what they have to say about this. Now, I will say before this, goes too much farther, the Papa Roger account on Facebook was already proven to be somebody who had originally gotten kicked out of a bigger group. They went and created a smaller group out of retaliation to try to get more information. This page also became active more than once after Bryan Kohberger was arrested. There's also data in the back end that says that this is a female account. So I don't know what they're doing here, but unless they come out with proof, then I'm going to stay where I'm at, that it's crap. Now, this is Alina Smith. This apparently is no longer a situation. She was just on Drunk Turkey, going insane a little bit about the hearing. And what I'm understanding is that she's no longer a part of the Facebook groups. So much so that after she came out to Drunk Turkey with her information, the group doesn't want it discussed in the group. So yeah, this definitely was recorded way before a lot of other things happened, for sure. So because this person was more interested in the crime itself and making the timeline make sense, it made them suspicious. I honestly only give a crap about the 24 before, the situation itself, and the 24 after, because that's where I feel I'm going to get the most information that's going to help make sense. So I don't know. She's also saying that Papa Roger asked the same kinds of questions that was asked in the DeSales University questionnaire. I mean, a lot of people probably would have those exact same questions, though. I mean, most people do have those questions that don't even, have college degrees in this kind of stuff. It does say right here on November 30th, of the evidence released, the weapon has been consistent as a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath. This evidence was released prior to autopsies. That also could just be some sort of conclusion this person is coming up with, but it is, I'll admit, odd to just automatically assume whatever this would be would automatically come with a sheath, unless it's just common for them all to come with sheaths. Now, I don't do professional knife shopping. When me and my dad are doing stuff and going to garage sales and flea markets and stuff like that, the majority of the time, these blades don't have accompanying sheaths. But if you do look online, everything from K-bars to katanas do have sheaths. So could it just be a deduction that doesn't have anything to do with actual knowledge? Yeah, the person just might actually be smart. Do we know if the families knew about the sheath and were just told not to say anything? Because they're not wrong. The public didn't know until afterwards. But does that mean that the families didn't know? Because this account could be a family member that was sitting there asking questions based off of the things they had been told by the police. Who knows, though? Okay, so now we're into the portion to where they're loading up the family's boxes that they can take of the victim's stuff that was left in the house. Now, this is where the public is also told about the bolo for the white Hyundai Elantra. Remember, at the same time that this went public, we had the Banfield stuff come out, and then we also had the Eugene, Oregon car that sort of just went crazy at all at the exact same time, which is interesting because we do have to keep in mind the fact that this was law enforcement only for a little while, 2 weeks almost, right? Before it came public, maybe a little bit less than that, but definitely a length of time. And then all of a sudden, this just rush of white Hyundai Elantra information. So you almost have to wonder if their original bolo that was law enforcement only found something else, and then the media was orchestrated or ordered to, or maybe they do it stupidly sometimes and think it's actually a leak. I mean, people are gullible and dumb. Okay, we saw that with this. Oh, Bryan Kohberger's doing an interview. How many people did a video thinking that this was legitimate, trying to get their people all riled up, even though Mike Baker and so many other people that actually got information from the Kohberger's family attorney proved this to be false already. Okay, people are gullible. Okay, so now we have gone forward to the December 15th traffic stops in Indiana. I do have questions about these traffic stops still, simply because of the Brent Kopaka stuff. I'm going to do a video here soon. I've been meaning to since the hearing, but then, things happen where Kopaka was mentioned by the Goncalveses. He was mentioned in the letter. He was mentioned by Steve. He was mentioned in the court documents for the alternate perpetrator evidence, according to the information coming out from the judge, it seems like. There's a lot here. So considering the fact that everybody had eyes in that direction, but no one knew anything about what had happened to Brent Kopaka until after we saw this information come out from these traffic stops for Bryan Kohberger, it is really strange, especially whenever you pair those coincidences up with a couple other things. So we're going to talk about that pretty soon here. So now it's the chief saying, at the end of December, I was asked to have a conference with the FBI and Moscow PD and the Idaho State Patrol. And he basically figured, okay, there's a lead. What's going on? It has to have something to do with us, somebody at WSU. So he's saying that whenever he heard the name in the conference, it sounded familiar because he remembered talking to him. Now, this is going back to the spring of 2022, whenever we knew that there was some sort of correlation between the Pullman Police Department and the PhD program. And that's what he's mentioning now. It was for research and assistance to the Pullman PD. He seemed a little bit awkward talking to him. His communication style was not like a fluid conversation necessarily, where he spoke easily. It was a little more stuttered, I guess. Well, he's got autism. With a researcher in a law enforcement agency, a huge factor is developing trust. And that was one area where I felt he might fall short. Why? Because he doesn't speak fluidly? Okay. So he was told at that meeting that it was DNA at the scene. They do have the single source on the button of the sheath. Yeah. And I'm waiting for them to release the Amazon information, because all of the stuff that's coming out for this purchase that he made in March of 2022, they're not telling us that it has the USMC logo on it at all. But I'm also really surprised that they're even talking about this in this, because this has already been removed. This has already been removed from the evidence. They were not going to be telling the truth about the IgG whatsoever. Brett Payne is the one that they chose to tell the narrative that both sides could sleep with at night, basically. Whichever one is going to let you sleep at night, come up with the story and tell him what to say. Yeah, he doesn't even work for Moscow anymore. So they're showing the December 23rd Papa Roger post where they were saying that it wasn't anybody in their immediate circle. It was probably like a law enforcement agent that was behind the Papa Roger account. That's what I've honestly always thought. Okay, now here they're talking about the trash pool DNA partial match and how that's what caused them to get the search warrants. Exactly. They had the IgG information that sent them to a certain family, which then sent them to even smaller of a pool to work with, and then it sent them to Pennsylvania. I don't understand why people are just okay with the IgG information being taken out of evidence and then seeing like where we are now, where we still have zero answers. Zero answers. Yeah, they said that they basically planned for the search warrant at his apartment and the arrest to be happening simultaneously. I honestly don't feel like that was the first time that they went to his apartment at all. There's no way. Yeah, remember Bryan Kohberger apparently asked if anybody else was arrested, but Brian Inton is the one who started that rumor, but then said he couldn't get it verified. Well, there was a document that came out where they were talking about false statements that went stupid basically in the media, and that was the one. That was the one that they were talking about. And it was in the same document where they told us that Bryan Kohberger had asked the guy that was sitting in the back seat with him on the way back to the jail from his parents' house, or to the jail from his parents' house, if they wanted to get coffee with him whenever all of this was done and over with. And now they're showing how whenever Bryan Kohberger was arrested, the Papa Roger account just disappears. So what are they trying to like act like what happened here? Are they trying to say that like Bryan Kohberger somehow had access to his Facebook after he was put in jail and was somehow able to log in and delete his freaking account from behind bars? Did he steal somebody's phone from inside the jail and delete his Facebook account? What are they thinking happened here? I'd love to hear like the logic. I'm waiting to hear something that makes common sense. It was completely deleted. I should have been able to find something. There was nothing. It doesn't matter. His Tapatalk stuff, his stuff on Quora, his stuff everywhere is all still out there. If this had anything to do with him, why would it have been magically deleted? Come on now. Now, I know that they're comparing Papa Roger's picture and Bryan Kohberger's like mugshot side profile. If you really look at the two photos together, they don't actually look anything alike. Let's be serious right now. Bryan Kohberger's forehead is really tall and prominent right here, and you can start to see where his brow is really, really prominent because it starts to have that line. Bryan Kohberger's eyes are extremely deep set into his sockets, whereas this Papa Roger character, no, not at all. There is a curvature in Bryan Kohberger's eyebrows that Papa Roger does not have. There is a bump and actually a broken spot that's a lot more prominent than this on Bryan Kohberger's nose, whereas the Papa Roger's nose, it's very flat. There's no bumps in it whatsoever. Bryan Kohberger also has a bump in the bottom of his nose. Papa Roger's does not. Bryan Kohberger's lips are a completely different shape and are a whole lot thinner than Papa Roger's. The chins are also not alike either. They don't even have the same jawline. So while I know that people want to see some sort of comparison, you could put any guy with short hair and a certain shaped face by like the millions next to Papa Roger's photo like this, and honestly, they would look alike. I think people just see what they want to see. And I mean, I'm probably guilty of the same thing. And again, I don't really quite understand why Hunter Johnson has to be wearing a University of Idaho shirt. It's like they're trying to just keep this like way high up on the pedestal reputation and just keep putting themselves out there. It's just odd to me. Like, why aren't you just wearing a normal ass shirt? Maddie's mom says she doesn't watch the news because you just never know when something's going to be out there. But are you paying attention to the facts? Are you paying attention to the evidence, or are you just letting it all be background noise? It's a serious question. It's interesting that they're showing Asget's virtual tour of the house and calling them amateurs or whatever. But now we have like a full-on video that they put out about a week and a half or so ago where they are claiming that they got information from Dateline sources in order to put their stuff together. But the Amazon Prime people are basically calling her some sort of amateur by putting her visuals in there while they're making that statement. That's really interesting. I haven't watched that entire virtual thing that they put together. I'm going to, and I'll put my reaction out on what I think about it as I'm watching it, because I know a lot of people are like, dang, that's wild. But how many of those people are paying attention to the facts? So we're going to watch it while we actually know the court orders. Now they're talking about how one of the eyewitnesses are actually claiming to have seen someone in the house. Yeah, are you going to tell the truth about all their bullshit? They came face to face with the killer. No, bullcrap. Come on now. I think she was confused. No, she's battled with what if I actually knew what was going on. Well, according to your messages and according to Steve Goncalves, y'all did know what was going on. So there's that. And that's apparently how it ends. Let me know what you guys are thinking so far down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that that notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.